to make sure you understand. So these are just things that you need to ask. This is why I say you should have at least 10 questions. I have literally interviewed people and said, well, do you have any questions? And they're like, no, I think you answered them all. No, I haven't. I haven't answered them all. No. So
you just lost it right there. That was the end. No, you answered all of them. You answered everything. No, I couldn't have. You don't work here. There's tons of stuff you don't know. Right. So yeah, you always keep going. Make them cut you off from questions.
Yeah, saying this is the time. We don't have any more time. Yes.
We don't have any more time. We don't have more time.
So Donald has a good question, but before I ask his question, acing the interview, I want us to talk about thank you notes, thank you email, or written note. People put in chat. Thank you. What do you think? Thank you, a written thank you, or an email. Which one would you do today? 2021. A thank you note, handwritten note, or an email. Let's see what they
did they say
to chat. I'm gonna see what they say. But Portia, what do you think? Coming from HR, we talked about this a little bit, but I want you to share.
We did. It is imperative, I think. As soon as you leave your interview, as soon as you leave down in the lobby, if you're physically there, or as soon as you get off your Zoom call, send an email. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciated the engaging conversation, and best wishes to you. And then follow up with a written note that has some element of personal touch
from the interview.
Story about how your first management role really spoke to me during our interview. Something that's just not thank you for the interview, have a nice day. Okay, that's nice. But just something more that says you were really listening to what they said.
Mm-hmm.
One more thing. Thank you so much for how you talked about how you balance work and family. That's really important to me, and I took note of that. Yes. I'm looking forward to speaking with you again.
So I have depends. Somebody says depends, and Tanya, I need you to expand on the depends, my friend. Tahia says email. Jasmine says email. Tara says and thank you video.
Okay, see.
Now we're getting fancy.
That would be cool. Yeah.
That would be cool. I would like,
okay, wait a minute. Who is this?
If your interview was good and then you send me a video, you have the job. Mary says, I've done written thank you notes and email. Rachel says, thank you card to place in the mail immediately after the interview. Thank you email. Donald says email. Yeah, so I think I think your preference. I have, when I've interviewed, received both. Okay. I have done both, but I did what you just stated. I sent a quick email, and then I sent a handwritten, because I put something personal, like when you
there you go
and such, and then I sent it to them. So Tanya says sometimes they may not feel comfortable for providing everyone's email addresses. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, well, and Tanya, that's a good point. I was able to email everyone that I interviewed because they gave me their business card when they came in. This was pre-COVID, so they came in with it, with their business card. So I had their email.
That's good.
Yeah. So I think the whole point of this is just making sure that after the interview that you send some sort of communication saying thank you for your time. And if it's an email, put something that you remember from the interview, the discussion that you had. So to your point, Portia, that they know.
That's good. Yeah, that's what
you were listening. Yeah. So I think if we talk about different generations, I think it just depends on the different generations and so forth. So Donald asked, let me go back to his. Donald said, over recent years, have you seen a change in corporate recruiting strategies to recruit people of color, women, and veterans, those with disabilities, etc.? What do you consider best practices?
Ooh, good.
I'll throw that out to you. Over the recent years,
yes,
have you seen a change in the recruiting practices or corporate recruiting practices?
It has, and as the company's objectives change, how we recruit has had to change. So here's what in HR we have what we call a dashboard. And so the dashboard it's really like a scorecard of data points. This is kind of inside secret stuff. Data points of what the candidate may be bringing to the table. So they may have, did you have a diverse candidate slate, first of all? So that's been for years. Yeah, oh yeah, we had a diverse candidate slate, but they weren't hiring diverse candidates. So that's another topic anyway. So diverse candidate slate, did you have any females? Did you have any minorities? Did you have any veterans? Did you have anybody with disability? Did you have anybody with, I don't know, there'd be maybe another piece on the recruiting scorecard. This is just for recruiting. As the company's objective changes with that, and maybe you remember a few years ago, there was a big swing. We got all these veterans in. We pushed and high. I mean, they got like triple the benefits that we were giving to other people. Veterans were it. So it depends on the culture and the climate of the company, but recruiting has changed. And based on that, our strategies had to change in how we found those kind of candidates. If we had a push for minorities or females, we had to change where we were looking. We had to go to the different schools to find the candidates that had the skill sets we were looking for, the different organizations, the different clubs, to find whatever we were looking for. So the strategy has to change so for instance, now with COVID,
social climate, the racial
climate, the strategy of how you go about finding people has got to be different. It's got to be different.
And I think organizations have to change because 2020 was a big call for change.
It was.
It was a big call for change. So organizations will have to change their recruiting strategies because now people are watching.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Watching with a keener eye in this regard. So Portia, to your point, that recruiting dashboard saying how many here, and also too, Department of Labor looks for how many here. Do you have management, leadership, minorities here and so forth. So
you have to keep it as a dashboard. It's not a quota. It's a dashboard that says, here's what we've done. It's not that we're not targeting just Hispanic Americans. That just happens to be what we hired. But we have to keep a dashboard.
Yeah, you have to do that. So Donna, I hope that answered your question. But yes, the recruiting strategies do have to change. Also, to let you know, because of COVID, the recruiting time, sometimes it can take up to 4 to 5 months to recruit a role. Okay,
and that's costly.
Yes, and it is costly. And I've seen with COVID how that has gone down to, I think, 2 to 3 months because one, the pool is so big now. There's so many people out there looking for jobs, but also two, now it's a little easier to interview.
Yes, it is.
Via Zoom versus me having to drive in and so forth. So the recruiting strategy, just in fact, how fast they recruit has changed because they have to pick up the speed a little bit. So like you said, it is costly. Another person had stated Tahia says, what are some good responses to answer, what is your weaknesses? Question. And this is where I say, if there are any HR professionals that are out there right now, Nicole said it, stop asking that question. Stop asking that question. What are your weaknesses?
Right. What are you trying to get at?
So Portia, how do you think, I have a spin on that question, but how would you suggest someone answer that question that comes to them?
No, we haven't asked that question in I don't know how many years. I mean, another way to say it maybe would be, what would you consider some of your development areas? So development areas you can say, and if somebody asked you that today, what are your weaknesses? I'd say, well, I don't consider them weaknesses, but I do want to continuously learn and I want to continue to develop in my field. And so one thing that I think that I try to take on a little bit too much, or sometimes I may want to help out in areas that maybe I don't really have the time for, and I get overwhelmed, and sometimes I have to drop something. something to the effect of, you don't want to say, well, you don't want to certainly divulge any medical issue. You don't want to say anything personal about, I don't like being around old people, or, something that just takes you
Offensive.
out of
Yeah, something offensive. Yeah, you don't want to say anything
offensive.
offensive. Yeah, like my weakness. I'm very impatient with the senior generation. It's like, really don't say that. So like, don't say anything offensive. One of my things I always say, don't don't tell people I have no patience.
Yeah,
I
no
mean,
patience.
just these
I want to
things
get things
knock
done.
you out of the running. It's like, but Portia, I think you did a good
Take
job.
here. Look, put your resume right over here. Thank you so much for coming in, and we'll be in touch. So you don't want to divulge that your patience is very thin, and you're thinking it's a good thing. I want to get things done, and I'm going to deliver really quick. Okay, so that may not match. They may say, well, that's just not a good fit
Yeah.
for our department.
Absolutely. So Mary says, we all have things about us we would like to improve. What are some of yours? So as an HR professional, that's a great way of saying that question. But if you to he are asked, what is that? What is your weaknesses?
That's perfect, Mary.
Yeah, Mary, that was perfect. Just, I don't like to focus on weaknesses. However, I have areas of growth that I like to work in, or opportunities for growth. So yeah. So again, all my HR professionals, please take that out of your interview. So just to close it out. So now you're in, you got the job. Make sure that when you leave out, if it was you ace this interview. I don't want you to do cartwheels in the lobby just yet. Wait till you get to your car, okay? Or make sure also too, if you're on Zoom, make sure you end the Zoom call completely, probably even close your laptop, and then you can go walk around saying, I got this, okay? So you ace that interview. You're in there now. What? We want you to continue having a growth mindset, okay? You're bringing your strengths, you're bringing your talents, but you still have a lot to learn. This is for all professionals. I don't want you to go there like a bull in a china shop. Trust me, lessons learned. I'm coming from experience. You don't want to go in like a bull in a china shop. You want to understand your role and how it plays into the bigger organization. Portia, you said that earlier. So how do you suggest once you're in? Okay, so we're in. I'm in there now. So how do I learn more of my role and how the pieces fit together?
Absolutely. You're going to have to do a lot of work on your own, because when you come in, they may hand you or point you to their company intranet and have you do certain trainings. But again, it's going to be somewhat siloed, because they're trying to perfect your skill set for that particular role. And you got to do that. You have to do that. But the better thing to do is, again, to look across the organization horizontally and vertically and learn what those other roles are. You say, we don't really deal with the other departments, but they're interconnected. So when you can talk and you know the lingo of the area and the whole department and how it works, and you do that by talking to other people, looking at the intranet, taking somebody to lunch. And I don't just take somebody to lunch and waste their time and not really talk about, why you're talking. Tell them, I'm really trying to learn more about the company. Absolutely. And I saw that you sit in this role, and I think it has something to do with what I'm doing. So I'm just trying to, it builds your network. It builds, join business resource groups. That's another way to get connected in the company, not just with volunteerism, but to know how the company embraces certain categories. Learning policy, not just sick time and benefits, but how the company would address an issue if it were to come up. That's important. I worked in employee relations for a while, and I heard so many times from people that may have gotten into an issue or gotten in trouble. I didn't know that was a rule. I didn't know that's how we were supposed to do. I didn't know that I wasn't ever supposed to go over somebody's house. So it just learning, just being a sponge, I think is maybe my best piece of advice on really growing and not staying in one place. Now, if you're bored in your job and you're just sitting there, you're going 8 to 5 and you're coming home. I did that my first 2 years out of college in my role, because I was waiting on this big gig in Chicago. So I was sitting at work and I was doing my job, but I was looking over here all the time. Like it just Chicago's Newsweek called it, and I missed the opportunity of growth. I missed the opportunity of learning all I could learn. I didn't really start growing until I got to Atlanta and was doing the consulting jobs. But, you know, by the grace of God, you know, I was welcomed back to the same company, and then I started getting it. So
Right.
you gotta be able to embrace and look around you and
Network.
team. You can't be siloed and girl, I'm trying to just pay off my car and get out of here.
No, then you got to reevaluate why you're even in that role. But Donald also says find a mentor. Hopefully, if it's a good onboarding process, they will hook you up with someone your first 90 days and you can just then decide if you want to keep that person as a mentor, or you can have multiple mentors. You can have different mentors for different.
I like for people to find them. I like for people to find them better because you're more apt to stick with them.
Yeah.
You find somebody that you admire and kind of connect with. That's so good, Donnie. To find somebody to help you along the way that you trust. You got to talk to them.
So we set a growth mindset. I don't want you going in there thinking, you know, everything. Yes, we're all talented. We all have strengths, but we don't want to go in there as know-it-alls. Like I said, it doesn't matter what level professional you are, how many years of experience. But here's something funny we wanted to end on, and we're probably going to have some people, I want you to go in the chat, put a little ha-ha heart or anything like that. But does dress for the role you want still matter? We're going to wrap up on that. Portia, you and I cracked up over this, but we were discussing this. Does dress for the role you want still matter? Dress for the role you want still matter. I want you to put your comments in there and let me know what you think. Yes. Someone said yes. So dress for the role that you want. Okay, you may not be in that role now, but dress for the role. And I think we use the example of like you're in the mailroom wearing a 3-piece suit because you want to be a CEO. and you need to come down.
Right. At some point, you gotta, you know, it's good. Absolutely, you gotta have aspirations. You gotta have those goals. You know, that's absolutely part of yes. But at some point, you have got to look around and do a reality check and say, you know what? I work in the mail area, or I'm on the phones in a customer service area, or I'm a business analyst and and khakis and a shirt are fine. Don't come in and you're so tight and bound up that you can't even be comfortable in your role, and now you're messing up because you look like a misfit.
Yes.
You got to use good judgment. Dressing for the role you want versus the role that you're doing.
So Rachel says, yes, she goes, dress the way you want to be addressed. So I do agree with that spin on it. So you have dress for the role you want, or dress the way you want to be addressed.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, I do like that. Dress the way you want to be addressed. So with that said, we're not saying adapt to the energy in the room. We want you to influence the energy in the room. However, you know, you want to look around your teammates and so forth. And we want you to be comfortable. That's what we're saying.
Even on Zoom.
Yeah,
on Zoom.
Want you to be comfortable. Just be comfortable. You know, if you're in a role that doesn't require the 3-piece suit, I like the aspiration, but we want you to be comfortable in your role. And this is why we say, we were just wondering what other people are thinking and how that still fits in the workplace today. But yes, even on Zoom, they had a thing on Good Morning America this morning about how we got a little sloppy in the very beginning.
We got to tighten it up.
We got a little sloppy, so we need to tighten it up and still look professional. My thing is just when I say get dressed, meaning if you just happen to get up and someone sees the camera, make sure you have decent bottoms on if we're on Zoom, my friends, and a decent top, accent with earrings for the gentleman, collar shirt. My husband downstairs, he has a collar shirt. He'll put it on and, have some sweatpants or something. But as Rachel says, dress the way you want to be addressed.
I like that. I like that. Brush your teeth.
Brush your teeth. where that's a whole hygiene in HR. That's a whole nother topic there.
Ooh, I could write a book.
So just to wrap up, any tips on learning all you can in your role, or the role that you want? If there's a role that you want, just learning all you can about that role, and then once you get into it, stay on top of how to become strong in that role. I think, is that the right way to say it?
Yes.
Any tips on that learning, and then we'll wrap up.
Absolutely, that's great, and this has been wonderful. So if you see someone that is doing a role that you are aspiring to, or maybe there's nobody, it's in a role and it's a role that you may want to create, first do some research on your own about what the role entails and how it will fit within the unit. So when you meet with somebody that's in the role, you don't want to just have a question that says, "So how did you get where you are?" So if you want to know a little bit about what they do that interests you, so you can at least formulate a question that tells them this person's really thinking about what they're going to do or what they like to do. So let me give you an example. So maybe somebody that is a managing director or CEO in an insurance company or something, and you're doing a different type of work. Relate what you're doing to how it fits within or how they see your role. So they're able to say, okay, they understand a little bit, let me help them. And usually senior managers are pretty gracious with talking to folks if they approach them. But if you don't know them, don't have a relationship, or you're just calling them out of the blue, they've got to have a reason to talk to you. At least that's how it worked at Chase. They've got to have a good reason or see something. So if you know somebody that knows them, the network again comes into place. But have a good question for them that draws them in and lets them know that you understand a little bit about the role, and here's why you're interested in it.
Right.
And, how long will it take me to get? That's not a good question, because you don't have maybe the same background that they had or the same connections, quite frankly, that they had. So a question of how long will it take me to get to where you are might not be something that they can answer. They may just you just have them talk about the role. People like to talk about how they got to where they are.
I think that you ask them their journey, like what was your journey start to getting to that role? Then you understand their story a little bit better than saying, how can I get where you are?
I want your job.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
So Portia, thank you so much. This was amazing. I just love chatting with you. And I hope the participants on here gained one nugget. Just give me some hearts, some emojis, something. Put in the comments that you gained one nugget, no matter where you are in your career, if you want to transition. But also too, if you're finding a career, I'm happy for you. Share this with other people that you see that are, making a transition into a new role, a new employer, or like I said, the parents of college.
Yes.
Yeah. You may be getting a grad degree, PhD, whoop, whoop. So you go ahead and you may know somebody that is, so pass these nuggets on to them to help them. So Portia, thank you so much.
I really appreciate it. This was fun. Thank you everybody that joined. Hope you learned something, and can't wait to do another one of these.
Yes, absolutely. We got to think of another fun topic.
Oh, we got plenty. Yeah.
So, okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Everyone's putting hearts and emoji. They say, thank you so much.
Oh, good.